All right. Well, I just got the notification that our waiting room is empty, which indicates that people have joined our session this evening. So I have the opportunity to welcome everyone. Again, my name is Dr. Wes Brooks, and I serve as the Vice President and Dean of Students here at Augustana College. And on behalf of our other presenters who you can see right now on the video, they and I would all like to welcome you to this family and certainly student orientation. If there are any students joining the call, you are all more than welcome to stay. But the information that we will be sharing tonight really is directed towards our family members who certainly will be on the Augustana journey with you students who may be on this call as well. So what we'll plan to do over the course of the next 55 to 60 minutes will be to cover a variety of different topics that we would have covered in face-to-face orientations in June. Due to the COVID situation, obviously we've transitioned to virtual orientation through the Zoom platform. So for those of you who are new to this is our second session. We will be providing the first half of our parent orientation program once per month in May, June, and July, and then doing the same thing for the second half of our family orientation in May, June, and July. So this is session 2. Session 1 occurred last week. If you missed that, don't worry at all. There'll be a recording of that session, in addition to, again, those number 1 and number 2 sessions being offered again in June and July. The first thing I'd like to point out as we get started is we are recording this session. If you are uncomfortable being on a recording, you are welcome to depart this meeting at any time, but we're recording this for exactly the reason that I just shared. There are certainly families that are not able to join us this evening, and we want to make sure that they have the opportunity to have this information. So we will post this recording on the Augustana Orientation webpage after this session in a day or two when it becomes available to us. In addition to that, I'm going to ask my colleagues to turn off their videos just for the sake of bandwidth at this time, and I will be sharing my screen so that all of you are able to see some content that all of our presenters will be talking. So I'm going to do that at this time. So what I'd like to share before I turn it over to my colleagues are just a few things. One, for those of you who may be new to Zoom, certainly many of us are doing a lot of virtual meetings, but if you're new to Zoom, we do have some optimal Zoom settings that we'd like to encourage families to use this evening. And that would include, one, using the speaker view rather than the gallery view. So if you go to the upper right-hand corner of your screen, you would be able to transition from the gallery view to the speaker view. In addition to that, you will see on the camera above the video 4 different icons, a single thin icon on the far left, and then gradually increasing to what appears to be a 9-section grid. Our recommendation would be to use the second feature from the left, called the small active speaker video. By doing so, that should allow you to see the active speaker and our PowerPoint at the same time. So with that, those would be the Zoom settings that we would encourage you to use. Additionally, a significant part of our session this evening is the live chat feature. Of course, we could post this information and share a video with you via recording. But we believe that the live chat feature is a fantastic part of this session where you family members can gain insight through direct conversation with members of the college serving as Q&A responders during this session. So please feel free to use the live chat feature that you can find on your toolbar as well. I also wanted to talk a little bit about fall 2020 planning and guiding principles. Knowing that we're in a different situation with the COVID-19 pandemic right now and things like virtual orientation versus face-to-face live orientation, we wanted to talk a little bit about what the fall might look like. Our number one priority related to the coronavirus is the safety of our students and our campus community. And what we must share with all of our families is that with that top priority, we will be guided by health experts in making decisions. It is our goal and expectation to offer live classes. We believe wholeheartedly in the mission and vision of Augustana College, and we execute that best through live face-to-face classes. And the residential experience and all of the co-curricular opportunities are critical to the full student experience. If we're not able to do that, we believe strongly that we can offer a fantastic experience through distance learning, but our goal and expectation is to offer live classes in the fall. We will communicate throughout the course of the summer as plans continue to flesh themselves out, as more guidance from the CDC, state, and local health agencies are provided to us. So we will be able to answer some questions that you might have in the chat feature about our plans for the fall, but please know this is a very fluid situation and we want to do our best to keep our students and faculty and staff and community members and visitors safe upon our return for the fall. And we will continue to execute and think through how we're going to do that based on that expert health guidance. So with that, I would like to turn things over to Yen Dao, who is our Director of Student Success Services, and you can see all of our other presenters that will be following Yen later this evening. So Yen, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Wes. Good evening. My name is Yen Dao, Director of Student Success Services in the Learning Commons. I'm here to talk about the academic support services at Augustana College. We have resources available to all students. And today I will be discussing about these resources. So what is success? Success for us, when we think about success, we think of there is no elevator to success. You have to take the stairs. And at Augustana, we're pretty literal about our stairs. This is actually a picture of the staircase in our Gerber Center where students eat, and it's also the library. But we do strongly believe that there are a lot of steps. Sometimes it's not the easiest, sometimes it's a winding road, but we are here to support our students. Our greatest resources are the members of our Augustana community who are here to support our students. So I wanted to kind of share with you the faces, the names of the people who work in the Learning Commons who will be supporting your students. On the left, you see Lucas Street, Director of Reading Writing Center. And next to him is Dr. Jake Romanillo. He is the ELL specialist, and Farah Markowitz, the Assistant Director of Reading Writing Center. Those three individuals are our faculty writing tutors in the Reading Writing Center. My picture is right there. I'm the Director of Student Success Services. Kim Williams, Director of Disability Services. She will be speaking after me. And below, you'll see Miyuki Komura. She is a volunteer tutor in our office and also provide administrative support, along with Genesis Lee and Tatenda Nayani. Both are students at Augustana. In the Learning Commons, we provide lots of academic support services for everyone. We're located in the 3rd and 4th floor of the Gerber Center. We have the Office of Disability Services, the Reading Writing Center, and the Student Success Services. In the Reading Writing Center, we improve students' reading, writing, and English language skills. It is free to all students. Our hours are available during the day, Monday through Friday. We also have evening times during Monday through Thursday and also Sunday. It is staffed by 25 peer tutors and 3 faculty tutors. These sessions are typically 30 to 45-minute sessions with peer and faculty tutors. It's okay if students do not have a paper yet. I know a lot of students think that you have to have a paper written to go to the Reading Writing Center. Well, that's not true. I think the most difficult part about the writing process is actually the starting part. And so we encourage students to come in at the beginning or the middle or the end, any part of the writing process. We also work with students on helping them with their personal statements and their cover letters. We also offer subject tutoring to students. These are for course content. We have 90 peer tutors hired and trained. We offer drop-in tutoring, and we also offer individual tutoring. Drop-in tutoring is available to students who are taking courses in math, elementary education math, computer science, and various other subjects. They're typically 100 to 200 level courses. All students are welcome to participate, and it is free to all students enrolled in these courses. So I encourage students to come for 10 minutes, or they can stay the entire hour. But it is a great place to get your homework done and get help if you need it. So that's free drop-in tutoring. We also offer individual tutoring. Those are free to students who are currently receiving a C or below in the course. We believe that this is important for students who really do need the extra support. Students just need to submit the request through Starfish. Our professors will verify the grades with us. And once we get that verification, if we already have a tutor already hired, then the student will receive an email from us with information regarding their tutors. Typically, it's 1 to 2 hours per week of free individual tutoring. I recommend students to submit their tutoring request early, even if no grade is made available yet. I have had students who've requested tutors late in the semester, a day before finals week. Well, our tutors are good, but they're not miracle workers. And so I strongly encourage students to submit those requests early. In addition to tutoring, we also offer study skills workshops. These are free and all are welcome to participate. They're typically 45 to 60 minutes sessions on various topics like time management, test taking, how to deal with stress, how do we talk to people about emotionally charged topics, what do we do about group projects, and how to reduce test anxiety. So I encourage students to go to these workshops. We see students who struggle in course content and needing tutoring, also needing help in improving as a college student. So I recommend students going to study skills workshops. In addition to study skills workshops, students can also set up a one-time appointment or a weekly meeting with me to go over study skills coaching. During this session, we work on any topic that the student wants to work on. That could be, improving time management and organizational skills, getting better at, taking exams. I often hear students tell me that they do very well on homework assignments, but they do not do well on the exam. And so I work with students to come up with a plan to make sure that they do improve their test scores. This is free to all students interested. I strongly encourage students to take advantage of this resource. In addition to study skills coaching, we also offer skills courses. They are credit-bearing. Students can receive grade for taking one of these courses. We have English 111, which is Intro to College Discourse. This is recommended for first-year students who want to improve their reading and writing skills. It is a 1-credit class. It's a one-on-one tutorial with a faculty and a peer tutor. So if a student wants to improve their reading and writing skills, definitely sign up for English 101. English 102 is geared towards sophomores and transfer students who want to improve or seek an opportunity to research in the liberal arts. Again, it is a 1-credit class and it's in a guided independent study format. We also offer other courses like English 110, Rhetoric and Culture of the United States. This is typically recommended for international students who want to learn about the culture and the academic skills required to be successful in the US. That's actually a 4-credit class and is offered in the fall. The last course listed on there is LSC 199. It's the College Experience and Success. This is geared toward first-year students who want to improve their study skills. So it's a 1-credit class. You can get a grade for it. I teach this class, and it's offered in the first 7 weeks of the semester and also in the second 7 weeks of the fall semester. In the spring semester, it's only offered in the second half of the semester. I will leave you with a few suggestions related to student success. First, students must seek help and respond to assistance. We have a lot of resources available. I would definitely recommend that students seek help. Don't wait until it's too late. You know, it's okay to ask for help. I think it's perfectly fine. You don't have to be failing to seek help. And then the other thing too is if one of us, one of the individuals in the Learning Commons reach out to the student via email, that the student actually responds to the email. Oftentimes when we don't get a response, it's tough to be able to help the student. The students must make sure to check their emails. We do send a lot of emails. That's our primary method of contact. And so I know that sometimes students feel overwhelmed, but we really do recommend that students check their emails at least once or twice a day and respond to help when that assistance is offered. It is okay for families to alert us if a student is struggling. However, because of FERPA laws, we cannot share information with you regarding how your student is doing. Because of that, your student must fill out a FERPA release of information form in the registrar's office to give permission for us to be able to communicate with the family member. Please know that the Learning Commons is a place to provide support to students, but at the same time, students should know that that's a great place not only to get help, but also to improve their skills. We hire lots and lots of tutors between all the offices. We hire probably, 100 employees. We also are always looking for workshop presenters. So most of the workshops I present or I co-present with someone else, but sometimes we have a student who's a workshop presenter. So for example, in the next slide here, we have a student who was a math tutor, Omid Barekse. He was our math tutor for a year. Then he joined our panel for civil discourse in 2019. And this past semester, he impersonated former Vice President Joe Biden in our very first mock presidential debate this year. So if your student is looking for fun, leadership, job opportunity with us, we are the place to be. So at this time, I will send the slide over to Cam Williams, my colleague in the Disability Services Office.
Thank you, Yen. I appreciate that. And good evening. I just want to say thank you to all of you for being here. I saw some familiar faces there, which is very exciting. So a lot of you have heard this, and mine is not very long, as you can tell. I'm going to go ahead. Okay, slide that over here. I'm going to discuss with you here the process for registering with the Office of Disability Services. I will first want to explain that all of these students, you parents, as you know, they're coming from the IDEAL law, which is the Individuals Disabilities Educational Act, right? That's K through 12. So your biggest difference is now is that they will be protected under the federal law of the Americans with Disabilities Act. So they'll see me say ADA a lot of times. And that biggest difference is that they are now saying the ADA, they are 18 and they need to advocate, which we'll get into in a little bit here. So to register, what I did there for you, because this is a lot to cover tonight, the link right there is going to take you literally to the Office of Disability Services website, right? Where it's more in detail there. If you forget that link, again, this will be posted, this whole recording for you, as Dean Brooks had said. But if you forget that, then as easy as pie, you would just go to augustana.edu, in the search box, disability services, and voila, all of the same information will pop up for you. To register in that process, of course, I do need documentation from a licensed professional, whether that's a doctor, a therapist, a social worker, a psychologist, a medical doctor, whoever knows you the best, right? And has a history of course, your diagnosis. And then, of course, I still accept IEPs and 504s. Again, a lot of you have done an amazing job of sending that to me already. That's going to be current as well. Again, those are the 3 forms of documentation that I'll need from you. And then again, on the website, what you could do is, let's say you don't want to mail it in, fax me, or scan it. There's the accommodation request form on my website there that, of course, you'll go through their questions, not a lot at all, and then you'll be able at the end to attach that documentation, and of course, that'll get right to me. The best part of this with me, I am, of course, an in-person person, as I'm sure all of you are. The next phase then would be the face-to-face. And that is important because, of course, obviously the human connection, but that way you and I are sitting down together, right? I put a name with a face, you do the same. We together can build your academic accommodation letter, discuss what's going to work for you, what are the most appropriate and reasonable accommodations under the ADA law. And that is important Again, that's probably the best part of this in that process, getting to know you guys, and again, building that together and answering your questions, the parents' questions, and building the most appropriate and best accommodations for you, because as Jen said, we truly want you to be successful there. Now, the next part of that, as I shared under the ADA, it is your responsibility for every student listening tonight, parents, that I mean it, kind of move out of the way. It is their responsibility to privately, right, confidentially meet with each and every one of their professors, whether it's before class, after class, during office hours. Again, electronically, they're going to have a copy of their accommodation letter. If they ever lose it, that's of course when they can contact me and ODS and say, hey, Cam, I need another copy of my accommodation letter. But that is important because I have to take the time to say, these faculty at Augustana are phenomenal students. They want to help you. They are here for you. But again, as a young adult, you have to be responsible in providing them with that letter and discussing every time, in enough time, about your academic accommodations. Again, you are in control of those accommodations there. And then lastly, of course, as I said, it's your responsibility. I want to just add too, as Jen said, it works perfectly together if you guys take advantage of the resources. So of course, yes, the academic accommodations, but as she was saying, you got to use the tutoring, right? You've got to go to some of those different beautiful wellness labs that she has, like on test anxiety and different things like that. Don't wait to be that student that struggles and then says, okay, I'm going to go after the fact. We are a part of the learning commons and that works together. And then lastly, I do a lot of referring to the wonderful man I'm going to introduce here shortly when it comes to a lot of our students with the mental health side of that. There's clubs like the ADA Club, there's NAMI, which is national. I forget exactly what it's called for. Dr. Ivan will probably talk about that more, but there's these organizations to help you, and then these individuals. Dr. Bill Iverin is director of our counseling services. And so again, outside of just my office, what Yen said, Learning Commons, you also have counseling services, which he'll discuss with you as well. You've got wellness. Again, we want you to do well. The last most important thing I will add, because I had some students tonight, and parents, you might be wondering, even if it flips to online, which some of our students have, guess what? These accommodations don't change, right? They are still there for you. It's just in the online format. So don't think, oh my gosh, if it has to go to online, that it's going to change. I don't get those accommodations. You do. And again, what you want to do is reach out to me, whether it's virtual, in person, by the phone, and we're going to work that out to give you the most appropriate and effective accommodations. Because again, Cam wants you to do well, as everyone at Augustana wants you to do well. Again, this has been a lot. Don't worry. You're going to get this recording. But I do want to add, my email is camwilliams@augustana.edu. Please feel free to email me. I check it all of the time. And then I'd like to turn it over to the wonderful Dr. Bill Iverin, who is Director of Counseling Services. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Bill Iveroni. Thanks, Cam, for introducing me. I'm going to linger on this page really quick, just because if you have any personal or individual needs for your students and you want to schedule a call with me in early August, please email me with your name, your student's name, and your phone number. My email address is williamiveroni@augustana.edu. So if you want to do that, and then I can schedule a time in early August to kind of talk through whatever specific mental health needs or accommodations or things like that that you want to start working through, or that your student wants to work through. So again, I'm Bill Iveroni. First, we're going to talk a little bit about where we're located. We're located in Founders 206. We're right above the Dean of Students office. So at the top of that building, we're up there. We try to be up there for confidentiality purposes. We try to have low student traffic so students can come in. Aside from me, there are also 3 other people in the counseling services. There are 2 other practitioners, Allison and Alyssa. Allison is a licensed clinical social worker, and Alyssa is a licensed clinical professional counselor, which I am as well. And then we have Sherry, she's our administrative assistant. She handles all scheduling. So what I really want to talk about today is our mental health delivery model. Augustana believes very much in what's called stepped care in mental health. And really what that wants to do is it wants to meet your student where they're at. We want to make sure that we're giving them the autonomy and the self-management so that they're not taking in a need or an intense service that they don't need. So I'm going to go through this mental health delivery model real briefly, but really keep in mind as we go through it that first one, that all the way up to 10, is really that least intrusive, that low intensity intervention that a student that maybe just hit a little break in their mental health needs that needs that. We really want to meet the student where they're at. So obviously the first part of our mental health delivery model is the stepped care, is the screening and outreach. Screening and outreach allows us to see what students need. Sorry, hopefully everybody can still see me. So screening and outreach allows us to see what students need and go through all of the different services and assess them. After screening and mental health needs, we go to referral to campus resources. But I don't know if you can move the slide or if I am stuck. Oh, thank you. So mental health screening. So our first part of the screening services is the mental health screening. We have online, it's an anonymous service called the Counseling Center Association of Psychological Symptoms. It's an online, completely confidential screening that the student takes. It measures mood, anxiety, alcohol and substance use, family distress, academic distress, and then suicide or homicide ideations. Those are things we are always assessed. And then from there, it'll give them a printout and say, this is your risk and this is what you should get. So that's online, that's free, and it's confidential. There's also a variety of other screening and outreach where, again, as Wes said, we have a lot of relationship building. That's what Augustana is famous for. So there's a lot of peer mentors, a buddy system, community advisors, etc. So after screening and outreach, we do have our next service, which is Cognito. So Cognito is our online training program. So every student starting this year, we're piloting it. And then every year after that, our freshmen will be taking an online course through Cognito, which allows them to assess students in need. So it's basically a simulation, a role-playing model where the student will interact with the virtual person and based on that, ask questions and determine what that student needs if that person's a risk. Also, all staff and faculty have this available to them as well. And it's really just a way for people to feel comfortable with dealing with referrals. So when a student comes to them and talks to them about things, to be like, hey, you know what, you should go to counseling, or hey, you know what, you sound like you need this. So it's just to kind of break that barrier and that stigma so people feel comfortable referring and kind of mentioning and listening for those cues if this person really needs help because there may be a risk to themselves. So outside of that, we also have peer support. That would be our next service that we offer. So we do have NAMI, like Cam was talking about. NAMI stands for the National Alliance of Mental Illness. It is peer-led. There is an organization in the greater Quad Cities that they get information through, but it's all through peers. There's a president through the senior, and then they go out through there. We also have Active Minds, which is more of kind of raising awareness, peer support. And then we also have the Gray Matters Collective, which is another peer support that we have. So we try to get all that together. And then on top of that peer support, there also are a variety of peer supports in the community, 12-step groups, Gilda's Club, which is for people who suffer from loved ones that have cancer and they're going through that, other sorts of peer support. We also offer workshops. We offer mental health workshops for a variety of different things. If you go to the next slide, please. And we also offer self-help resources. So Allison is also on this. She in the chat has posted all of the links. So these self-help resources are on our website. They are divided up through apps and techniques. We have books, we have groups, and we have different websites to go to. The books themselves are based off of every sort of kind of type or mental health issue you'd want to look at. And then through there, they're also divided between autobiographical. So if somebody who has struggled with it and this is how they coped, as well as workbooks. All the workbooks are validated through a clinician rating. They either got 3 to 5 stars on a 5-star scale. So they are validated through clinicians. Then we also offer work groups. So throughout the year, every week we have group workshops led by a counselor and students come there, we send out an email and they come, they don't have to sign up, we just let them know. And we provide a variety different throughout the year, all sorts of things that you see there. The next service that we provide as we move up are therapeutic consultations. So if a student takes that online screening and they feel like they want to talk about this, they don't know where to go, they don't know if they want counseling or they want something else, then they can come in for a 30-minute consultation with a counselor. We recommend they bring their printout so that we just have that to start with, but then also we want to listen to their story. And from that, we can give them directions. We have a navigating services on campus, again, that's in the links, that will basically take everything that you can score on that screening, and it will give you a play-by-play on the services that you should probably enter into the Augustana offers. After that, our next service that we provide is a therapist-guided online therapy through TAO. So TAO is an online service that Augustana has. It's self-help as well as the therapist-guided online therapy. And what that is basically the therapist selects different psychoeducational or educational modules through TAO for the student to look at. And then every week for 15 minutes, they talk with their student and they work through it. There was a lot of research going on, and they've shown through this research, international research, that this model is just as effective as the 60-minute session. So sitting with somebody, talking with them, doing therapy for 60 minutes is just as effective as having them do this homework on their own and then consulting with them for 15 minutes after. So we also provide that. The next level of our step care is group therapy. Group therapy would be a confidential service, so this is kind of moving more into not just self-help, this is actual processing. You're going through personal information, you're working through your emotions, you're listening to other people's stories. So we really are starting to talk about confidential information. Students would have to keep it quiet, and they would work through what you would think of as a typical group therapy. We typically do 8-week sessions, but they can continue to do them, so they can be in one 8-week group and then another one, but they are closed groups. So what that means basically is once the therapist and I select the participants, there aren't any new participants. It just that shows to be the most effective way to run a group, so people aren't feeling like they have to retell their story or they can never trust and build that rapport, which is so important to group therapy. So the next service then that we have after that is individual therapy. So individual therapy we provide in a variety of different ways. We provide short-term individual counseling. This would be what you're thinking of as counseling. And just in general, they would call, email, or walk in, schedule a Sherry, and they typically have 1 to 6 sessions a semester. That usually is what a typical student would have. On top of that, obviously, we realize that college is a time of transition. So we also provide crisis counseling every day from 11 to 12 and 3 to 4. And those sessions are completely emergency sessions. If a student is just feeling overwhelmed that day, they can come in from that 11 to 12 session and there will be a counselor available. We can't necessarily decide which counselor will be available. There's 3 of us, but one of those 3 counselors will be available for that person at that time. So we also want to have that outlet, because sometimes a lot of people, they just need it that one time and they're good for the rest of the year, or they're good the rest of the semester. They just are really having this new situation in a new environment without the normal support they have in their home life. And so they're feeling overwhelmed. And as they talk through it and they work through it in their mind, they feel much better. So we have those available as well. On top of that, we also have walk-in sessions the first week, the 7th week, and the 15th week of the semester. Basically what that is we don't take any scheduled appointments. The student just calls the day of and says, I want a session on this day, and they just come in and walk in and have that session. And the reason we do that is because the first week of school can be extremely stressful. The 7th week is midterms and the 15th week is final exam. And that's just best practice in most colleges in Illinois. It's actually part of a new law that's going into place that they want these walk-in sessions, because we see that those are the times when we get a lot of influx of people who just need to work through it. They're nervous about their grades, they're nervous about other things, maybe they're nervous about going home, they haven't been home for a while, their friends may have changed, or things could have happened while they were away. And so they just need that session. And so we don't want to clog that up with scheduled sessions. On top of our individual therapy, the final thing that we have are off-campus referrals. We use the Shrink Space. Shrink Space is an online self-referral network. Student just types in what they want from a therapist. They type in their area, and then it basically gives them a printout of demographic information on that student. Or on that therapist. It shows them what their practicing skills are, their years of experience, their ethnicity, any sort of thing that they want to look at. I would highly recommend off-campus referrals, especially for CAM information. We don't do any psychological evaluations. It's just not what we're set up for at our offices. So if your student needs a psychological evaluation for accommodations or an emotional assistance animal or things like that, then we would have to have them do that off-campus referral, and we would use the shrink space. So that, in a nutshell, is that step care. I hope that I have explained it enough for you to get a grasp of why it's so important to kind of understand step care and see why we do it the way we do. Again, if there are questions specifically about your student, please email me your phone number and your name and your student's name, and I, again, will schedule a call in early August. If you have other questions, obviously email me about step care. And then I just want to leave you real quick with a brief ratio. I think it's important to kind of remember when you think about your relationships with other people and you think about that person you try to avoid or that person that you kind of like to walk by at work, it really comes down to this ratio of 3 to 1. For every 3 good things you say to a person, that will ignore 1 negative criticism. So if you have a coworker who says 3 good things to you and then gives you maybe 1 criticism, you feel pretty good about that relationship. Now, those things could be just as much as a smile or a pat on the back. They can be nonverbal, or they can be good jobs, that praise that we kind of think of. But when you think of your loved ones, that ratio jumps up to 5 to 1. So when you're thinking about your student and the people that you feel are your loved ones, your close family, you really got to remember that every time you criticize them, when you have their best interest in mind, you also have to get through this 5 to 1 barrier. And again, it can be small things like a hug, a smile, those things add up too, but also that praise. Because in the end, the messaging is, I want what's best for you, and I want you to do what's the right thing. And I've lived my life, I can give you some pointers, but as you give them those pointers, make sure to also have those positive praises so that they listen and they actually get the message. So I thank you for your time. Now I'm going to hand it over to Tom Phillips. He's the Chief of Police at Augustana. So thanks again.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Tom Phillips. I'm the Chief of Police and Public Safety for Augustana College. Been with the college 26 years. I'm going to take a few minutes to talk to you about kind of the setting and neighborhood of Augustana College. We're going to touch on the ways we try and keep people safe and students safe while they're here. I'm going to end up talking a little bit about emergency planning and what some of the steps that we do here at Augustana College. So the first question I usually get from families is, what's the Rock Island neighborhood look like around here? It's a good question. This part of Rock Island has a lot of rental property in it. Some of that rental property our seniors live in because we have a 3-year live-on requirement, and when they become seniors, we want them to become members of the community. So they live in a lot of the rental housing, but they don't live in all of it. So as we all know, rental housing is a very transient population. Sometimes people sign a year lease, 2-year lease, something like that. So because we have such a transient population, the Rock Island Police characterize this part of Rock Island as a low to medium crime area. Generally, when we have good tenants move in, our crime rates go down. If other people move in, sometimes we see those crime rates creep up a little bit. So now the next question most people ask me is, what kind of crime are you talking about, Chief? The biggest crime that we have committed on campus by people from the community are car burglaries and car thefts. It's kind of understandable when you have 2,500 students living in a close section in town. It's pretty easy to tell when we're in session because the parking lot's full of cars. Usually these are just a smash and grab. So someone will walk by, try a handle to see if the door is unlocked. If it's unlocked, they'll go through the car, or if they see something valuable in the car, they'll simply break out a window and take what they need. I can tell you that if we could get students to lock their car doors, that those incidents would go down. Now, I don't want you to think that we have a lot of these incidents every year, but it is the most common type of crime we have committed on our campus from people from the community. Along with that, we have a very good working relationship with the Rock Island Police Department. We receive daily the incident reports from the city, so we know what's happening in our neighborhood around the college. We've worked very closely with them over the years so that they are just literally a phone call away. If I need information or if I need something, there's always someone down there that I can call. We also employ a Rock Island police officer to work our campus every Friday and Saturday night from 10 o'clock at night till 3 o'clock in the morning. These are officers in a marked squad car that are just patrolling our neighborhood and the neighborhood around Augustana College, just so that we have an increased police presence in this section of the city. Okay. So obviously our number one priority is keeping students safe. That's why we're here. That's what we try and do. I did introduce myself as the chief of police. We are a hybrid office where we have 2 police officers and 8 non-sworn public safety officers. We're actually going to increase that number to 3 sworn police officers. We have a candidate that we are going to send to the police academy starting next month. So we'll actually, when that's completed, have 3 police officers and 7 non-sworn public safety officers. We're on campus 24 hours a day. We patrol the campus both in marked squad cars and on foot. We get out and talk to people and meet people and try and really be as proactive as we can in interacting with our community and try and be a friendly face that is approachable for students instead of just being a law enforcement body that drives around. The most common crime that we see on campus are theft and vandalism. Most of the vandalism we see on weekends, and a lot of it is attributed to alcohol. So if we could get students to stop drinking, our vandalism would go down. If any of you have any ideas for how we can help the students stop drinking, we're sure open to trying anything and everything to reduce that. The other major crime that we have is just theft from rooms or theft of a backpack or something that gets, when they go to get something to eat or they're in the library and they leave their items unattended. Most of these are crimes of opportunity. If they would just keep their valuable things with them, then that opportunity goes away and we don't have a lot of rates of theft and things like that. The biggest problem we have with students living on campus is they do not lock their doors. I know that seems strange, but I'm telling you, once they get here, either their roommate will lose a key or they just feel like they're in a safe environment that they don't need to lock their room doors. So if there's one thing that you can stress for me after this, when you talk to your student when they come here, just tell them the importance of keeping their door locked. If we take away the opportunity of someone just walking into their room and finding something laying out, then the opportunity to have something or taken from the room goes way down. So I know your students will probably tell you, hey, I do lock my door. I'm telling you, they don't. So if you could just tell them to lock their doors, that would go a long way to helping us. We also have a 24-hour dispatch center. The dispatch center they monitor our fire alarms. They answer our own campus emergency number. And they also answer the general switchboard for the college. So our dispatch center is open 24 hours a day. I think that's important for parents to know so that you can call a college anytime and you can talk to a living, breathing person if you have a question or you're trying to get information or your student calls home with some crazy story about the slough leaked and the campus is flooded and they're evacuating everyone, that you can call someone and say, hey, did the slough really leak and is the entire campus underwater? And we can tell you that it was just a water fountain in the basement of a building and it's not as bad as it's made out to be. So that is a resource for you to use, and it's sometime that you can call and always talk to someone on campus. We also have what we call the Augustana College Express Service, or ACES. ACES is how we try and get students around campus at night and keep them safe. It's a van shuttle service that is operated and managed by student workers, and I'm simply the staff advisor for them. The way this works is if you live on campus, you can call ACES, tell them where you are, where you're going. The van will pick them up, take them where they need to go. When they're done, they can call the van back. It'll pick them up and take them home. We also have an app that the students use, so it works almost like Uber. So their students are very familiar with the app, and they use ACES a lot. The statistics for the 2018-2019 year were the ACES program transported over 25,000 students. So if we have a student population of 2,500, that's every student taking ACEs at least 10 times. So it's a valuable service, and it's something that gets a lot of use. Now, this is a service that we use to keep people safe on campus. We're not going to take them to an off-campus party, and we're not going to take them to a place of business. So, we're not going to take them to Hy-Vee to go grocery shopping. We're not going to take them to Taco Bell at 1 o'clock in the morning, but we will pick them up and take them anywhere on campus, or we will take them off campus as long as it's something that supports our educational mission. One thing that Augustana spends a lot of time on is our emergency preparedness plan. This is something that is important to us so that we can be prepared to respond to any type of emergency that we might have on campus. We have we have 2 drills a year, and in the spring we always have a full-scale exercise every year. So the drills are kind of the building blocks until we have our full scale in the spring. We do have a campus emergency notification system that will send out emergency text messages, emergency emails that we use when we need to get important information, emergency information to our campus quickly and in a timely manner. Like I said, it's something that we spend a lot of time on. We have been recognized by the state of Illinois as a ready to respond campus. And we are also a weather ready nation ambassador for the National Weather Service. So again, it's something that we spend a lot of time on because we think it's important to try and keep people as safe as they can when they come here. So that's everything that I was going to talk about tonight. Usually they give me a microphone and I talk for an hour, but they told me to try and keep it short tonight. So I am going to introduce our Associate Dean of Students, Laura Schnack.
Good evening. I'm so happy to meet all of you virtually this evening. As Chief Phyllis stated, my name is Laura Schnack and I am the Associate Dean of Students. One of my roles on campus is ensuring that our students are being held accountable for the choices that they make outside of the classroom. As Chief Phyllis discussed earlier, alcohol is a concern for us on campus, as well as meeting the community principles that we have set forward for all of our community members. We highly value the community principles of accountability, care, openness and respect, purpose, and responsibility. These community principles are utilized through our conduct process when we find that students maybe are not meeting our community expectations. Our approach when a student has been found to have violated one of our college policies or community principles is a combination of education as well as financial consequences. Oftentimes the financial consequence is a small fine starting at about $25. We believe that this pairing of education and financial incentive will ensure that students make better decisions moving forward. As you learned about last week from Liesl Fowler in the registrar's office, FERPA would prevent us from providing information to family members about a student's involvement through our conduct process. However, there is one opportunity for us to share information with family members, and that is when a student has been found in violation of their 3rd alcohol or drug violation. If that were to happen, what we would be doing is sending you a letter via postal mail, asking that you partner with my office to assist students in helping them make better decisions in the future to ensure that their educational opportunities and experiences are not compromised. Over the summer, to help students learn more about our community principles, they will be invited to complete 2 online learning modules. The first one is Alcohol EDU, which is exactly that. It's about our alcohol education and expectations for our community members. The second module is our Sexual Assault and Prevention module. This module discusses the college's expectations around responsibility, openness and respect, care, and accountability. It also highlights students' expectation to be good bystanders and to intervene when they see things that are not appropriate. These modules will be shared with students beginning in July, and it will be expected that the students complete the part 1 of each program prior to their arrival on campus for Welcome Week. As family members, I'm going to ask a couple favors of you. The first one is that I'm going to ask that you engage your students in conversations about these topics. What are you and your family's expectations around alcohol and drugs? And what about healthy relationships? What does that look like for you? And also ask your students what they're learning or what they would like to know more about as we move forward with these programs. Another component that I work with students on is in regards to class absences and support in those scenarios. We have two different sorts of absences that I work with students on. One is an anticipated absence. Those might be for doctor's appointments or in the unfortunate circumstance of a funeral. In those cases, we ask that students provide documentation directly to their faculty members that they are anticipating the need to miss class. We also ask students to work with their faculty members to understand the timing of this and to try to be proactive in making sure that they're taking care of any assignments or exams that might occur during their time away. Under these circumstances in which students might miss class due to an illness such as the flu or a cold, we also ask that students still email their faculty members. If they are seeing a doctor for these absences or illnesses, we ask that they provide documentation of those visits to their faculty members for compliance reasons. If a student believes that they're going to be missing up to 5 days of classes, I'm going to ask that they let my office know so that I can be in communication with academic affairs. What we've noticed is that the 5-day mark really is the point in which students might start to have more difficulty in being able to successfully complete their courses on time and successfully with the grades that they're looking for. How we communicate is through a program called Starfish. Starfish is an online mechanism that's utilized across our campus through faculty and staff to ensure support for all of our students on campus. Starfish will be where students can also let my office know that they plan on missing class or have missed class, and it will provide them with instructions on how to communicate with me as well as their faculty members. Family, before I pass it over to Michelle Mason to talk further about absences in medical services, one piece of advice or a favor that I might ask from all of you is that we know that you have met us briefly, and we know that we are asking a lot of you to entrust the care and support of your student with us. You have known your student much longer than we ever will. So if there ever comes a time that you're concerned about a student and their success, or they might be struggling a little bit more than you think that they're aware of, please do not hesitate to give us a call. We are not always aware of this information, as sometimes students are nervous or intimidated to share that information with us. We want to be able to reach out to them and provide all of the support that is available to them to ensure their success. And with that, I'm going to pass things over to Michelle Mason, who's the Assistant Director of Residential Life.
Thank you, Laura. So I am so excited to talk with you all tonight and share a little bit more of how your student can feel more at home at Augustana College, being their home away from home. So I'm going to talk briefly about medical services and then also talk about some other options that they'll have off campus, as well as some other transportation options. So first, I want to talk about medical services in the Augustana community, so in the Quad Cities, specifically right close to campus. There's many more providers and locations than I can share with you tonight, but I want to talk about the ones that are frequented most often by our students. So if you look at the slide on your screen, you'll be able to see a map of right around the Augustana community with our campus highlighted by our lovely Augie A. If you look slightly down and to the right, you'll see a green location marker. That is the Unity Point Express Clinic. That's an urgent care facility. That's a walk-in clinic that is less than 2 miles from campus. That's where most of our students have gone in the past for a variety of issues if they just need a walk-in clinic like they would have probably back at home. We also are really lucky to have 2 hospital systems within 4 miles of campus, and those are the red location markers that are clustered in the other parts of the screen, so a little bit down from Augustana's campus. Both of those have full ERs and provide both general practice family care physicians as well as specialists at those hospitals, which is really good to know if your student is someone who maybe has to have regular allergy shots or another type of provider appointment regularly and would like to find that in the Quad Cities. That's where we would recommend looking first. So what about transportation to these medical services? Well, we have a college healthcare shuttle that runs Monday through Friday on business hours like a traditional doctor's office has. And that is a free of charge service for students so that they can get to any type of medical appointment as well as to pharmacies to pick up prescriptions. That's if they need to go to the dentist or a specialist or that walk-in clinic that I mentioned earlier. So if it's an evening or a weekend and they have some type of medical need to go to a provider or an appointment, we also contract with Lucky Cab Company. And so they will pick students up, again, free of charge with the Augustana student ID and transport them to and from that appointment. How the healthcare shuttle works is students can just call that number, tell them that they have an appointment. They'll pick them up from whatever location they're at on campus, take them to the appointment and drop them off. And then students simply call when they're done and they get picked up and brought back to campus. So what if your student goes to that appointment and then needs medication? They need to go to a pharmacy. Well, we do have a wide range of pharmacies very close to campus. I'm not going to read them all off, but I did want to let you know that most of the time a student's pharmacy that they're using now is what they can continue to use when they're a student at Augustana. There's Walgreens, CVS, we do have grocery store pharmacies, as well as Walmart and Target. I would encourage if you use something that you're not sure if it's in the Augustana College area to, search that on your own. And if it isn't something that you can continue to use, to try one of these providers before your student actually needs that medication or that service. So with insurance, as we talked about last week at the session, or if you want to join us next time for session 1, there is the Augustana provided insurance, but most students do opt out of that. And so most students staying on the insurance that they're currently on, I would recommend that you check with your provider about what options in the area is best for them. So whether that's doctors, whether that's a certain hospital system, or whether that's a pharmacy, to get that information now. The last thing that you are going to want as a family member or support system for that student is the first time that they feel ill or aren't feeling good their first time away from home. They don't want to have to deal with trying to figure all of that out then, and neither do you. I think it's such an emotional thing sometimes that first time that a student doesn't feel good, that you really want to have that figured out ahead of time. So to do that, make sure that you have an insurance card with them, that they have one with them, I should say, and that you've already looked into that pharmacy and what providers are good in the area or in network in the Augustana College area. The other thing I'd like to highlight briefly is that most insurance providers do also have a telehealth option now, where they could meet with a doctor over some type of app or other communication. And so just know if your insurance has something like that, because they could continue to use that while they're on campus through your own insurance if that's an option. So one piece of my job is to handle medical accommodations. And through that, it's actually very nice that we try to streamline the process as much for the student as possible. This accommodations request form you can see on the screen is the same that Cam mentioned earlier for academic accommodations. So we use the same form for both academic and housing accommodations. So you can go to augustana.edu/accommodations to see this information. For medical accommodations in housing, we do ask that those are submitted with documentation by June 30th. Just like Kim mentioned, we also take a range of providers, any provider really, to have any type of medical accommodation documentation. And we do accept if they have a 504 plan or IEP for that. I will say that a lot of those types of accommodations that we see in housing aren't necessarily on an IEP or a 504 plan. So do just check that documentation to make sure it states your diagnosis and the accommodation requested. Like I said, that's due June 30th. So next, I know we've talked about ACEs. Chief Phyllis shared that about on-campus transportation. I just told you about medical transportation. What about non-medical transportation? What about if you just need to run to Target and you need to grab a few things? How does that work? I will say a lot of our students will find other students who have cars if they themselves didn't bring one and carpool. That is a pretty common mode of transportation on campus. But the other way that most students travel is through Metrolink, which is that first symbol right there. And that is our city bus service that's in Illinois. And it goes to both Rock Island and Moline and shows a lot of different options throughout the Quad Cities, and they get to ride it for free with their Augustana ID. And that's why I think it's so important that students know that. As far as paid services, we also have Uber and Lyft, the rideshare apps in the Quad Cities that operate, and they can definitely use those. And for further travel, there is also Burlington Trailways, which is a bus system that operates from Augustana to the Chicagoland area every single day, which is very nice for students who are trying to travel home for weekends or maybe for a break. It picks up right at our Carver Center every day at 4:30. And so I just wanted to highlight those options for non-medical transportation as well. Now I'd like to turn it back over to Dean Westbrooks to talk a little bit more about medical services.
Thank you, Michelle. And before I close, I just wanted to share some exciting news that Augustana College will have an on-campus health clinic starting this fall. The clinic will be staffed with a PA, and those assistant hours will be very much compatible with student schedules. We have not set those hours yet, but envision also having some weekend hours for students. Services, as you can see on the screen, it's not an exhaustive list, which then speaks to Michelle's point about medical transportation and the use of clinics and things in the community. But there are certainly a lot of services that our health clinic will provide. That will be at no additional cost to the students this year. Due to the COVID situation, we want to make sure that we're providing some health care on campus, and that will be at no additional expense. There may be expansion of services or the need for a small fee in the future, but for the 2021 academic year, the health clinic will not be a charge to the students. Medication or additional testing that occurs at the Augustana Health Clinic may drive cost and cause a student's insurance to be triggered in use of the health clinic. But those standard treatments such as strains or strep throat, dealing with cold and flu, those sorts of things will be covered by the institution at our on-campus health clinic that will be right in the heart of campus, where students will be able to walk to that service at any time. And in addition, you know, with our health clinic, we certainly plan to address all the needs of the Center for Disease Control, the ACHA, certainly the Illinois Department of Public Health. So as that guidance continues to flesh itself out over the summer, we will be working with our partner in the health clinic to be as prepared as possible and address all things related to COVID-19. If there are things that we are unable to address in the on-campus health clinic that will have some limited abilities in terms of the services we can provide, then we will certainly be partnering and educating our student body on the services that Michelle outlined just a few minutes ago. So exciting news that we will have a health clinic on campus. So as we close this evening, just wanted to remind folks that the presentation will be available on the Augustana Orientation webpage. I'm hopeful that many of you have asked questions and have received answers. Please know that whether it's Yen Dow that you need to visit with, or Cam Williams, Dr. Ivaroni, Chief Phyllis, Associate Dean Schnack, or Michelle Mason, please know that we are all here to visit with you and answer any of your questions. So please, please reach out. But in addition, don't hesitate to reach out directly to your student's admissions counselor either. Knowing that this is session 2, did want to plug session 1 as well. Many of you were probably on last week and have joined us for session 2. For those of you who were not on last week, session 1 will be aired again in the live format on June 11th, and information will be forthcoming on that. That session will cover the liberal arts, student activities, diversity, equity, and inclusion. You'll be able to get questions answered regarding the business office and student billing, financial aid, and then also residential life and dining. So session 1 really focuses on some of the nuts and bolts, and then tonight's session is really about student success, safety, and well-being. So again, knowing that this is a unique situation this summer with the COVID situation, please know that we are scenario planning, adhering to expert guidance, and will continue to plan for a safe return for the fall semester. And we'll do so through communicating with all of our students and families very regularly so that you know what our plans are moving forward. We certainly appreciate everyone taking the time this evening. Hope you'll be able to join us for session 1 next month if you haven't already done so. And again, these presentations, both session 1 and 2, will be made available on the Augustana Orientation webpage. So thank you all for joining us, and we look very forward to having your students come to Augustana in the next few months. Thanks, everyone.